There was a very revealing moment in the interview that Fox did with Donald Trump over the weekend. It was supposed to be this propaganda interview following Donald Trump's criminal convictions with Fox and Friends and Donald Trump, but Donald Trump can't even handle a propaganda interview correctly. So Fox had to heavily edit it and cut things out. But there was a moment where Donald Trump was asked a question about what files he would want to declassify if he was ever to disgrace the White House again. I say disgrace the White House. That's not what Fox said, but I think we all agree that's what it would be. And he was asked whether or not he would declassify the Epstein files. Now, I want to play you Donald Trump's full response when he's asked if he would declassify the Epstein files, and you will see the utter fear and panic in his face as he's answering this question. Here, watch this clip.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
And, when I was seeing some of these clips circulating online, I didn't catch that part. I wasn't able to see the fear and panic, how Donald Trump even hedged in the answer. I don't know, not so much the Epstein files, because a lot of the allegations against Epstein are fake. No, they're not. What do you mean? A lot of the allegations? Just think about what he said there and how absurd and offensive it is. After Jeffrey Epstein was found guilty, Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty. We know what are you talking about? The allegations were fake. Donald Trump is terrified because he was close friends with Jeffrey Epstein. They were very, very good buddies throughout the late 90s and into the 2000s. And this has raised a lot of serious questions also, which have been raised before, but no corporate media wants to talk about, but we talk about it here, is Donald Trump's involvement with Epstein. But let me just show you for a second what the right-wing influencers, what the MAGA influencers were posting. They edited the Fox interview, which was already heavily edited, to remove the portion where Donald Trump was saying, I don't know, I'm not sure if all those allegations are real, I'm not. And they removed the part where Donald Trump's looked like he was in utter panic. This is an account called ALX. It's some right-wing propaganda account. Here's the clip that they played. Let me just show this for you. Let's play the clip.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General.
Here's the thing. Donald Trump was very close with Ghislaine. Donald Trump was very close with Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump had the opportunity when he was in office, if he wanted to declassify the Epstein files, to do that. He did not do that. The same way Donald Trump has the opportunity to pardon people. He claims he now wants to pardon when he did not do that. Instead, he only pardoned people if he saw it would be a direct benefit to help him cover up his crimes, because everything is about Donald Trump. But I do remember when Donald Trump wished the former Jeffrey Epstein trafficker, associate, convicted felon, Ghislaine Maxwell, and admitted meeting her numerous times. This was during her criminal trial for trafficking on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein. Here is what Donald Trump said in a press conference while he was in office. Play this clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well. Whatever it is, I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Mr. President.
Donald Trump goes way back with Ghislaine Maxwell. Here is an article from the Sunday Mirror in the UK from November of 1997. This is what an article was written about Trump and Ghislaine in 1997 in the UK. It says, Just weeks after ditching his second wife, America's best-known billionaire, Donald Trump has fallen under the spell of a 20-year-old English girl, Trump 50, who has failed in his bid to secure the services of Princess Diana's butler Paul Burrell, was in search of another British trophy when he met London model Anuska de Georgia at a party in Manhattan. Several American millionaires already had their eyes on Anuska, but she was there with Robert Maxwell's daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, who has introduced several of her attractive friends to the property developer. This article in 1997 is saying that Ghislaine introduced several young women to Donald Trump, and none of his would-be rivals owned a vast mansion in Florida like Donald does, Mar-a-Lago. And then the author of this article says, where I have dined with him and his outgoing wife, Marla, is enough to make any young girl go weak at the knees. After their meeting, Trump flew Madame Maxwell, they're calling her a Madame or Madame Maxwell at the time because you know what she was doing at that time, and the model south to the Sunshine State, where all three enjoyed a happy weekend together. Then they returned to New York, where Donald Trump installed Anuska in one of his apartments. Okay, that was an article written in 1997. Also, if you look at the contemporaneous plain logs of Epstein, Donald Trump appears throughout this at least 6, 7, 8 times in the logs. You see his names over and over and over again in the logs. Donald Trump brought his kids around Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump then hung out with Jeffrey Epstein privately. They partied together in West Palm Beach. And then Donald Trump would have his employees work for Epstein, and then Epstein would turn them into people who he would traffic. So Trump would send his employees to Epstein. Epstein would then turn them into his victims. And one of the clearest examples of that is Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre worked at Mar-a-Lago. And just let me show you the story about Virginia Giuffre. Just so you know, this is from the BBC. Virginia Giuffre, what we know about Prince Andrew's accuser. It says, later in her childhood, she was in and out of foster care, and by the age of 14, she was living on the streets, where she says she found nothing except for hunger and pain and more abuse. It was in the year 2000, while attempting to rebuild her life, that she met British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell. Miss Giuffre was working as a locker room attendant at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, and says Maxwell offered her an interview for the chance to train as a massage therapist. I ran over to my dad, who works on the tennis courts at Mar-a-Lago, and he knows I'm trying to fix up my life at that point, which is why he got me the job there. I said, "You're not going to believe it, Dad," she recalled. And then when Miss Giuffre arrived in Epstein's home in Palm Beach, she says he was lying down naked and she was instructed on how to massage him. She started at Mar-a-Lago, then she worked her way over there. In 2002, Donald Trump told the New York Magazine that he thought Epstein was a terrific guy and noted his penchant for pursuing women on the younger side. Quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy," Mr. Trump told the magazine. "He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them on the younger side." New York Magazine also reported, remembering the time Jeffrey Epstein rode on Donald Trump's plane, they did board with a young woman of indeterminate age. I wouldn't be able to tell you if she was 15 or 20. She was quite dressed up and quite made up, so it was hard to tell. And also in or around this time period, let's say in the 90s, in as early as 1991. Here's an article that was written recently by The Guardian, and they talk about this September 1991 cruise that Donald Trump held, where it was teenage girls in evening dresses and mini skirts. Some as young as 14 danced under disco lights. It could have been a high school prom were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding them. And as the evening wore on, some of the men, many old enough to be the girls' fathers or even grandfathers, joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. One balding man in a suit wrapped his arms around two young models, call them young girls, leering into a film camera that was documented the evening. Can you get some beautiful women around me? And this party was aboard the Spirit of New York, was an event that Donald Trump, who was 45 years old at the time, attended with a group of 58 aspiring young models. In other words, young girls who were around the age of 14 or younger, or just in that general age range. By the way, Donald Trump recently posted on his social media a video that had the photograph of him with these 14-year-old girls. By the way, he posted that recently to his MAGA base. So clearly there were all of these links right here. Clearly Donald Trump has the opportunity to release the Epstein files if he wanted to release the files. You see the sheer panic on his face. Oh, by the way, you want to just see the report on Virginia Giuffre. Here's just a short clip of regarding her lawsuit against Prince Andrews. Here, play this clip.
We're back now with a major development in the sex abuse scandal that's been rocking the royals. Prince Andrew, hours ago, agreed to a settlement with Jeffrey Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre. This is all according to a new court filing. Giuffre alleged in her lawsuit that Epstein trafficked her and forced her to have sex with his friends, including Prince Andrew, who is Queen Elizabeth's second son. Giuffre claimed Andrew knew she was just 17 when he sexually abused her on multiple occasions in different locations. CNN royal correspondent Max Foster is with us now. And also joining us, former Los Angeles criminal prosecutor Lonnie Coombs, who's also prosecuted all kinds of crime, from murder to celebrity stalkers to sex crimes. It's so great to have both of you here. Max, just about a week ago, you were reporting the prince had agreed to sit for a deposition. It looked like this was headed to a trial. What changed?
Who knows what the conversations were behind the scenes, but if this had carried on to trial and Prince Andrew had sat down and given a deposition, it would have just brought out more and more embarrassing revelations about his life. It would embarrass the royal family. He seemed pretty determined to carry on with it. I think probably the monarchy would prefer that he reach some sort of settlement. He's got that settlement. Virginia Giuffre wasn't giving any indication either that she was interested in a settlement. So we'll wait to hear from both sides some more detail about why they agreed to this.
By the way, in addition to all of this, Donald Trump's name appears in the deposition transcripts of witnesses in the Epstein case. Here's an example, and here's a woman that was trafficked who says, we were sitting there on Epstein's plane. So we were sitting there and the pilots told me to go back and tell him that we can't land in New York and that we were going to have to land in Atlantic City. Jeffrey Epstein said, great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to, I don't recall the name of the casino, but we'll go to the casino, referring to one of the casinos that Donald Trump owned. Let me play you this clip as well. This is Donald Trump talking about when he ran the Miss Teen USA competitions, that he would inspect the naked teenage girls. He would go in, his own words, he would go in and inspect young teenage girls naked. And he would say, because he's the inspector, because he's the head of it, he should be treated like an inspector. I mean, how disgusting is this? Here, play this clip.
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. Right, I want to make sure that
you're like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things.
And here's something that Donald Trump said when he was on the Howard Stern show about Lindsay Lohan, when Lindsay Lohan was either 17 years old or just turning 18 years old. I think she may have even been 17 years old at the time and was turning 18. Here's what Donald Trump said about her. Here, play this clip.
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now?
I think she's hot.
There's something there, right?
Yes.
But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest.
Yes.
And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles?
If the father's a wreck like the way he is,
right?
You imagine the sex with this troubled?
Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed.
Back in the day.
How come the deeply troubled women?
Yes.
Deeply troubled.
Right.
They're always the best in bed. If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable.
I can tell from the.
You don't want to be with them for the long term, but for the short term, there's nothing.
And by the way, that's why the media does need to ask him questions. Like, the media gives him a pass. How do you give this monster a pass for this behavior? That I'm just showing you the facts and I'm just showing you the evidence. They never really dealt with this in 2016. They never dealt with it in 2020. They don't want to deal with it in 2024. You see, he just gets asked if he's going to declassify the files and his face is in complete and utter panic. It's not something that should be like a taboo topic for us to call out Trump for his conduct. Trump's behavior is what's wrong. We should call him out for it and not act like that didn't happen. I mean, it's sickening. It's disgusting. Yes, he's a convicted felon. He's a sexual abuser as adjudicated by a jury and found liable for civil fraud. But look at this chapter where he's gotten of his life, where he just gets a pass. And it's probably not a chapter. It's probably it's a continuing pattern and practice of how he deals with people in general. And that's something that and something that needs to just be called out. We're going to call it out here on the MeidasTouch Network. And I hope you share these videos and just show people, hey, look at this data right here. Take a look. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support. Thanks for watching and have a good one.
Enough! Send him to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.